Purposely. Your life, God's purpose. Listen at purposely.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Gospel Tech Podcast. My name is Nathan Sutherland, and this podcast is dedicated to helping families love God and use tech. Today, we're going to be talking about summertime because our East Coast friends here in the United States are already in summer break. Our West Coast friends are ramping up quickly. We're going to be in summer break in the next 2 weeks or so. And we need to think forward to how are we using our tech and what is that going to look like this summer? And specifically, I want to address the educational side, the summer slip. The summer slip is real. It is the idea that when we go on summer break, we shut our brains off and we just have a great time. And it's not all bad decisions, but there are deliberate decisions we can make to stop the summer slip, which is, I'll talk more about what that means and how we can be helping our kids for this next school year. And I do want to take a quick step back. So I'm very much in the thick of school stuff because since January, I've been teaching a sixth grade class. And here in Washington State, we do sixth grade as part of elementary. So it's not a middle school class where I run, my one language arts unit that I would run for when I was teaching in, our junior high format. When I was teaching eighth grade, I would teach, I am a English teacher. I am a social studies teacher. Now I'm just teacher and I do all the things, which has been a hoot. And I get the same group of 46 students. I have 23 and then they rotate through and I teach two of the content areas again. So I have 23 and 23, which is fantastic. Loved it. Loved that format way more than I thought I would. But I'm very much in it. And as I watch summer coming, I have seen these students grow so much, which has been amazing and so cathartic. I would use that word. Not in the moment. It's as stressful as I remember. God bless you, teachers, for loving kids and for serving them and for pushing them on to believe in themselves more than they believe in themselves. And yet, it is so cathartic when you watch a young person realize that they're smarter than they believed they were. And by smarter, most of these kids would say, oh, I'm not smart, meaning school doesn't come easy. And yes, we have conversations about smart as a range, and there's different things you could be smart at. And look at Isaac Asimov. And I do it all. But they believe that good test scores mean smart because, the system has told them that. And then to watch them improve in math, in reading, in language arts, and to watch those test scores improve and to watch their confidence improve, which means now they're more likely to initiate a question or to engage an assignment you've given them. Because yes, I'm still assigning work with T-minus 10 days of school left. And they were more likely to initiate because they believe they can. And that there's less of what I like to call that active non-learning, where they are just fighting you tooth and nail from gaining knowledge. And I find myself doing more work than they're doing, right? There's less of that because they believe they can do it and they're willing to give it a shot now. And then they're going to go on summer break and then they're going to fantastically implode, show up next year, in the fall, which isn't really a year. It's 10 weeks. And they'll be like, oh, nope, see, knew it. I'm bad at school. So here's what I want to share about the summer slip specifically. So over the last 25 years, I know education's getting a really bad rap in America right now, and this is mainly post-COVID. And we can talk about what the place of ed tech to try to supplant relationship and what that's doing, because in America specifically, we've kind of put education as the final bulwark against societal breakdown. So when families fall apart and when communities start to break, teachers are thrown in the mix of now you need to make sure their test scores are good. You need to make sure these kids can read. You need to make sure they have social emotional learning. You need to make sure they have access to counselors. You need to make sure that they're processing their identity on a broad spectrum. That's a lot for a classroom teacher who at a middle school setting has, 50 minutes with this group of 33 kids. So I don't even have 2 minutes a kid per day. That's a lot to put on a plate of an individual. Now, mine, I get the opportunity to teach at a private school, smaller class sizes, and what I like to tell my kids is the main difference between them and a public school kid is every kid in my classroom has a support network. Not every kid there has the financial resources necessarily to go there. There's a wonderful system of financial support from the district, but every one of them has someone who has brought them to this school. And I was like, that is a huge leg up. when learning. So what we're talking about is in America, we have a system that's overloaded classrooms and said, classrooms, fix these kids or make sure they stay awesome. And since COVID, it's gone downhill precipitously, mainly because of the introduction of a wide range of technology and distraction. If you've seen test scores repeatedly drop over the last few years, it's really happening with COVID. I share that because prior to COVID, over the 25 years previous to that, 2/3 of students in America consistently met or exceeded the reading achievement levels that were set within our country. And yes, that's a moving goalpost, and I understand, but just know 2/3 are hitting it, 1/3 are not. I don't know if that's better or worse than you were expecting, but 1/3, that's not awesome that we're losing 1/3 of them, but 2/3, certainly not as bad as I expected when I read this. So in 1998 and in 2019, the percent is the same for below basic reading comprehension, 27% of American 8th graders. So there wasn't a decline in the 21 years between 98 and 2019 is what we're trying to look at there. So while nearly 1/3 of them not hitting is not great, it's not dropping precipitously. And then we see this. There was a study that polled, let's see, this is out of 2020, is when they polled this data. It looks at, so it's taken from the Northwest Education Association, but it's data for 200 million students. Let's see here, 200 million students. This is a quote from the researchers. Data provided by the NWEA allows us to estimate means and variance across 8 grade levels using a data set with more than 200 million test scores for nearly 16 million students in 7,500 districts across all 50 states for a fairly recent time period, 2008 to 2016. So we have 2008 to 2016. We can see 8 different grade levels, and this allows us to see sequentially student progress. And what they found is the summer slip. They found that the difference in student high-level achievement wasn't necessarily where you came from or the school you went to or what your family background is or any of that or where you live. It came to whether you were doing any form of education in those 10 weeks off. They found a slip. If you took an average 3rd grade reader and they start 4th grade at the same level, the child who does nothing over summer will experience a 40% degradation over their peers. So if they both finished 3rd grade at grade level, they're reading, they're part of the 2/3, and they go to 4th grade, one of them will start losing 40% of the progress, not overall knowledge. And I do want that to be very clear. We're not dropping from a oh goodness, I can't do the math in real time, but they're not losing 40% of their total knowledge. They're losing 40% of their progress that they gained the previous year. The reason that's important is because when we look at what these students do, and I made a little note here for an example, but when we watch this progress these students are making, we can actually watch the gap open in between students, and we can see what we would then describe as struggling learners come from the same group of kids who were on par to show at least standard and proficiency, if not better. So we have those 4th graders. One will start at 4.0, the other 3.6. So that's not a huge drop in reading, but there are standardized test scores that we're using. So something like a MAP score or a STAR score, that's what we're getting here. So you're coming back from summer, they're immediately taking one, they took one in the spring. But if we repeat that and they go, okay, they both grow at the same rate, so they're still learning, they ended 4th grade, 4.0, 3.6 is what yes, they started 4th grade that. They end 4th grade, they've gained a full year. One would be 5.0 and presumably 4.6 now. And then at the beginning of next year, it's going to be 5.0 and 4.2. And then they go through that school year and the one grows and it becomes 6.0 and again, 5.2 because they gained another full year. So they're growing at a reasonable rate, but they're going to come back the next year at a 4.8 and then 4.8 and that other one's a 6.0. So you're now starting 7th grade and this kid has a 6th grade reading level and the next student has a 4.8. That's a significant drop. Now we're heading into junior high and we want to be thoughtful as we are looking at this process of how do we stop that gap? And the answer is a very small amount of practice. It's not much. It's 15 minutes of reading per day and 15 minutes of mathematics. And you can stop that drop in grades. The whole premise of a summer break is based on the idea that we would be an agrarian society where we need these kids to help bring in the harvest. So we built this 10-week gap, and it's become summer break, and it's part of tradition now, and it's when families take trips. And it's also when we go, wow, my kids did so great in the spring. Let's celebrate by doing nothing. And obviously I oversimplify, but I feel that weight as well, both when I'm in the classroom and for my own children. I'm like, man, I'm so proud of these kids. Like, I just want them to be able to have a childhood again and be able to go and have some fun. And that's great. And I absolutely do want that as someone who firmly believes in the point and the purpose of risk and responsibility and free play for growing resilient youth. I want that. And don't let them just do nothing for 10 straight weeks, and certainly don't let them do nothing while spending extreme amounts of time in front of screens. I'm telling you that because I care about your children, because I've seen what it does in the educational environment, and because we know that it's bad for them. So it's okay if they're going to have some fun this summer. It's okay if they're going to drive a little less hard than they did during the school year, and do not allow the summer slip to drag them back and to convince your child that he or she is not good at school, because that's flat out not true. And we can keep the progress they've just made and actually grow, if not in the score, in the things that actually matter, like the ability to focus and the ability to have confidence when we step into a learning space, knowing we can do hard things. So what do? 15 minutes of reading, 15 minutes of math. This completely freezes the summer slip. The students that read 15 minutes a day, the students that do 15 minutes of math, do not see the drop in scores that these other students see, that we see consistently year over year over year. And by the way, I stopped at the going into 7th grade, but it continues where that's the 7th grade student at level will finish reading at a 7th grade level, and the other student will go from that 5.2 that they are. I'm sorry, now I forgot the number. But let's say it was a 5.2, and they'll go down. They'll be in the upper 4s. They will keep losing their progress, even if they grow to a 6.2. Then they'll be at a 5.8, going into 7th at the end of 7th grade, going into 8th, instead of being at a 7th going into 8th grade reading level. So yeah, we want to make sure that we are doing our best to stop that. So what do? We go into high interest books. When we talk about high interest books, and reading just a few minutes a day. So let's say we had a student who read 20 minutes a day versus a student who reads 5 minutes a day. This is not new information. Back in 1987, Nagy and Herman said that student who reads those extra 15 minutes will be exposed to 1.6 million more words than a student who only reads 5 minutes a day. Oh, by the way, I didn't cite the study, I don't think. The NWEA study is Atteberry and McEachin, as I believe how I would say that, is the 2020 study. And this is, I'll give the journal links, but these I just found these on SagePub. But you can check these out for yourself. The research is out there. It's been out there for 40 plus years that reading consistently exposes our children to more words, and that more words is the foundation point, especially in Western education, for how we do it. Even our math problems require words and a certain amount of philosophical thinking at a low grade level. Like, it's not just math. I know this because when teaching math this year, I found that if I gave the students the equation, they can do the math. And if they read it out of a paragraph, sometimes they can't, which makes me feel a little crazy. And maybe math people know why that is, but I like my children to be able to do math. And sometimes the reading gets in the way. So please have your kid read. All right, so what do they need to read? High interest and self-selected. For summer reading, like, find something that they find engaging and let them pick. You can pick the options, pick. You've got these 3 books. Which one do you want? That's still self-selected. You can use something like Honey for a Child's Heart, which is a compendium of books split up by books that are great for young men and young women, and then broken up by age and grade level, and just read your way through it. And what I love about that is that it gives you a feeling of adventure and success that's age appropriate and allows you to not just poach the books that are too high a level. And now you're reading these old kid books, and that's great, but then once you've read them, going back to more age-appropriate books feels less exciting and less enjoyable. And now you also don't have those books to read in the future. So read up all the great books that are age-appropriate and something like Honey for a Child's Heart. For example, let's just give some example. Owen right now really enjoys, he's currently reading The Mysterious Benedict Society. He loves anything right now that's mystery-ish. So his favorite series is the National Park Mystery series. I wouldn't say favorite, one of his favorite. Like, he doesn't reread a lot of series, and he's reread that. He's also reread The Green Ember, which is not a mystery series, but those are the types of books he's really into. We are definitely looking at some of the more classic mystery novels to let him read. So an Agatha Christie, and he's getting to the age going into he's going into seventh grade here in 2 weeks. So it's going to be, yes, we can let you read some of those more intense and thematically mysterious books. With Henry, Henry loves science, he loves animals. The Wildcrats is still very much like we look back and we're like, we're glad we did that. Henry really took to that. All the kids loved it, but he was like, I need more books on that. And in asking around, I'm like, hey, I need books that like take science seriously. Like, I want my son to know more about science and about zoology and about all the things that God has made. And I have found that either they're, National Geographic and they go out of their way to take shots at this idea that there's a God who's made creation, or I won't name these other resources, but there are resources where like they go out of their way to try to insert biblical concepts into science that don't fit. And then we end up with like things that just aren't true. And you're like, I get it. Like, I agree. God made the world and we are designed and we can see that in nature and math and creation. But like, that's not accurate. Like the thing you just decided to say in this book, what can we do? And so a friend who was homeschooling said, you know what, you should check out Flying Creatures of the Fifth Day by Jeannie Fulbright. And it's awesome. I'll give you the link. I think I bought the book off Thrift Books for like $9 and $3 shipping. And we bought there's now a second edition. We bought the first edition. And I just didn't tell him it was coming. I just ordered it. It arrived. I tossed it on the counter. I was like, hey, book on birds. And he is eating it up. He got sick this last week. Why, by the way, are we still getting sick in late May? But he got sick and read the first chapter and was like, Dad, did you know there's kingdoms of animals and phylums and class? I was like, oh, I remember learning this in school and it being physically painful, and you like picked it up on a day when you were sick and you love it. So keep in mind that's self-select. I knew that it was a high passion interest area, and then I gave him the option, and he is voraciously reading it, and I'm assuming we'll get others, and that's awesome to see. The other kids have not chosen to do that, but I hope that they get inspired by their brother. But that's Henry's thing. He also loves classics. Little House on the Prairie, Little Women, and then Where the Red Fern Grows is one of the more recent ones. But the My Side of the Mountain, The Hatchet, like that series is currently growing. It's nice to do in summertime when we actually can get outside here in the Northwest. So, but those are high interest, and then self-select. Yes, I bought the book and provided it. So I selected the book, but he chose to pick it up and read it when he had the opportunity. And that's what we're looking for here. And then Hadley has become quite the little reader in first grade. She loves the Boxcar Children. And again, that mystery piece, she's into that. She likes the not knowing, but the Boxcar Children like are as safe a mystery style. Like even the amount of engagement they give you isn't too high to where they're like so stressed out to find out what's happening next. And then she loves audiobooks. So she's still doing a lot of Jesus Storybook Bible audiobook, and then the classic Roald Dahls, which I've told you our children love. This is now the third child who's loved Roald Dahl, but do know his humor is rude by our modern standards. Like, we have to tell our children that's not how you actually talk to someone. But we have not seen negative fruit come from that in terms of the way they treat people, or the way they think about reality or themselves. So currently they're just getting a love of pithy humor. But Matilda, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Fantastic Mr. Fox are some of Hadley's favorite listens. And I put it on like a 0.8 or 0.85. And then that's what she can do during like a quiet time. If we have like hey, you're going to go play on a weekend, for example. Yes, we still do this because we found that all of our children need time to just like decompress from being around each other. And so these are some of the stories she can read. She still loves reading a book about Biscuit the dog, or a book about Fancy Nancy. Like, she can do those. But her chapter book, it has been the Boxcar Children. So I'd share you my children's three. They're a younger age range. If you have older children, yes, the Read Aloud Revival and the Honey for a Child's Heart will get you into those books. But the point is 15 minutes a day.
Parents, as we strive to raise kids who love God and use tech, it's intimidating to look at this next stage of life and think about what academics may look like for them. When you're thinking about college, consider George Fox University for your children because of three things. First, it's going to give you a more intimate, known environment where they have a focus on being known personally, academically, and spiritually. Your child will grow in their faith. 93% of undergrad students at George Fox last year, through the 2025 academic year, said that being at George Fox has helped them grow in their relationship with Jesus. We also want them to grow academically, which means being a part of a university with rigorous academic standards and opportunities to be engaged. They have nationally recognized engineering, nursing, and education programs, as well as chances to study abroad here within the U.S. and then internationally. And finally, personally, to be part of a vibrant campus atmosphere where you can play intramural sports or part of their NCAA Division III athletic programs with 23 sports available. The goal here is to go to a place that's going to support your goals, not try to make you support theirs. To have that goal be to raise you up to be all God's called you to be, and to truly equip your young person with in my case, my sons or my daughter, to love God, and then from their love of God to go wherever God has called them. And that includes being equipped with a degree that'll help them do that, to be missionally equipped to love and serve others, to lead where God has planted them, and to know the gospel for themselves, to be able to share it with others. So George Fox University is an amazing resource for our kids, for our community here in the Northwest, and for anyone who's looking to raise up a young person who can love God and from that, love others.
I am telling you about a resource that Anna has made for this. I found the research and then Anna made the resource. How about that? So it is us, I guess. And this is the Summer Slip Bingo. It feels less like an assignment and it feels more self-selecty, but basically it's bingo. And you'll see here that there's read outside. There's do a day screen-free. There's a couple blocks for that. Read a book in a series. Read a nonfiction book. Read under a tree. And as they finish this, they could only do one a day. Although on some days when we're home all day, we are like, today's a double day. Like you can fill in 2 blocks. Your child will say, I did that today. Fill in the box. And then when they finish, there's some kind of a reward. Last year, we actually printed on it, like you get a $5 gift card, or you get a Blizzard from Dairy Queen, which those are 2 rewards our children love. Because they can only do one a day, we're talking you're going to do this once a week at the beginning, and then they're going to have to go for a blackout, and it'll probably take longer. So if you could pay $5 a week, so a total of $50 per child over a summer, and be sure they don't lose any of their academic growth, you would pay that, right? Like that's 1.5 sessions with a tutor. for you spend an hour and a half of tutor time, or maybe 1 hour of tutor time, depending where you live. You paid $50. Like that feels like money well spent. So while it is a little irksome, they finish and you're like, oh, that cost me $5. Like that was $5 invested in your child, retaining their growth and their academic momentum into this next school year. We have seen for over 200 million students over an 8-year period across all 50 states that the summer slip is real. I showed all my students with their testing. We pulled in we just finished spring testing. I pulled them all over and like, here was your math score you just took. Here was your math score from this fall. But look at last spring's math score. It's awfully close to where we are now, right? And there was a big dip in the fall and you grew again and you're the highest you've ever been. But imagine if you start the year there and then we begin like, yes, you've grown and yes, you've shown progress and yes, I'm proud of you. And yes, you worked hard to get here. And that effort could have been put in from a different spot and you would have seen continued growth from there. And again, the goal is not at the end of the day, higher test scores. The goal is for our young people to retain their love of learning and their ability to learn at a high level. And we've seen that drop after summer if we do nothing. We've seen it maintain if we just do 15 minutes a day, and this bingo card can help. Yes, there's even some Khan Academy on there. I just realized I've been talking the whole time about just reading, but 15 minutes a day of math also helps them retain their high level of understanding. And I love Khan Academy. It's free to use. You can make an account for yourself. You can make it a youth account that goes to your account. So I have my parent account, and then my children have sub accounts under that. That also saves for when they forget their passwords or whatever. We just write the passwords down, keep it inside a cabinet. They can log in on their own when it's appropriate to do. And we use Macs. So we have screen time set up. If you want to see how to do that, I have a tutorial video that I can show you how to do. But even if they chose to get distracted while using Khan Academy, they can only use the websites I've set. So I could say, hey, this streaming service is off. This is a basic feature, by the way, on just any Mac product that you have. You can do this on phones. You can do this on iPads. You can do this on MacBooks. And you do need to know that because you want them to be using the parts of the internet you've said they can use. So 15 minutes of Khan Academy now, they can just use that website. They can't go to any other domain because there's only open domains to what you've said is acceptable. And fancy things like VPNs don't stop that because it's your computer that's actually controlling the domain, not an outside website. And so I do love just that basic functionality. I've been told things like this you can do on PCs. I don't have one, so I can't prove that. But the idea of doing a local, instead of blocking all the bad stuff, only releasing the good stuff, it's simple. I like that. So if you're going to use something like Khan Academy, Khan Math, 15 minutes a day. It's fantastic. Give them a special award. So I did this in class where for my 6th graders, I'm like, hey, if you finish every lesson at Proficient, if you finish every one for all of 6th grade, I'm going to give you a special, we literally like, I'll bring you in a donut. And a couple kids are like, what if I finish them all at mastery level? It's like, I actually don't know. I'll have to brainstorm. So 2 kids went and did that. I'm like, oh, all right, I'll think of something else now. And that's really the goal here. We're trying to make this fun. We're trying to show high engagement. We're trying to encourage the behavior we want to see. And we're putting a little skin in the game where we will reward our children. We will prioritize this. We will make time in our schedule. And this summer slip bingo card makes it just a little bit easier for all of us to wrap our heads around. That I'm not giving you an assignment. Maybe you are, and that's fine. But if it feels like a battle and you're like, ooh, how do I make this feel like something that they can want to do and that I can encourage them to do without, making every single day a fight? The Summer Slip Bingo will be our third summer of doing it. And it's been great for our family. It's well worth the $50 a kid. And you can choose to augment that. Maybe they get some other award that isn't financially costing you anything. With that in mind, we're going to finish that there, stop the summer slip, show high engagement. And this will probably be what I talk about next week, but put a pin in the idea of screen time does matter. It is not just 15 minutes and then limitless screen time because they've at least retained their learning. Because at the end of the day, the goal isn't just remember more. The goal is become an awesome person that produces the fruit of Christ, and limitless amounts of screen time do not do that. Be intentional about what tech our children are using and how they're using it. And because I don't want this to be a 2-hour podcast, I won't go into that today. But I do want to just remind you, parents, let's make awesome summer adventures accessible. Let's make some of those adventures the reading and math our kids are going to do, and let's make screen time be intentional and support our children becoming all that they can be in Christ. If you have any questions for me, you can reach out nathan@gospeltech.net or on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at LoveGodUseTech, and then join us next week as we continue this conversation about how we can raise kids who love God and use tech. I'll talk to you then.